Do you ever find yourself caught in that loop, silently telling yourself things like, I'm so stupid,
Mm.
or maybe I mess everything up, or that really persistent one, I'll never be good enough? It's surprisingly common, isn't it, that internal monologue?
Oh, it absolutely is. But just let's pause for a second. Think about that. If someone else, like anyone else, actually said those exact words to you, would you accept it?
No way.
Would you just sort of nod along? I agree. Probably not. Yet we allow ourselves to say this stuff, without question to the person we spend the most time with, ourselves.
And that's exactly what we're doing a deep dive into today.
Hmm.
We're going to explore what lots of people call the voice inside, that inner critic. And our mission really is to understand it.
Hmm.
And maybe more importantly, to stop confusing its whispers with your actual truth, your real self.
Yeah. Psychologists often label this negative self-talk, pretty straightforward term. But to give it a more vivid image, I sometimes think of it as the uninvited roommate in your brain.
Huh. I like that. The uninvited roommate.
Exactly. And this roommate, well, lives rent-free. And I can tell you, it is rarely, if ever, kind.
That idea, though, that the voice isn't actually you, that feels like a really big distinction for people.
Hmm?
Can you help us unpack that a bit? If it's
Yeah.
not me, what is it? And why does it feel so real, so ingrained?
That's the crucial question, isn't it? This voice isn't your core self, not really. It's more like a collection of recorded messages. Think old fears, echoes from childhood, maybe,
Mhm.
some unaddressed shame, perhaps, or even just internalized stuff from critical people in our past. Basically, you learned how to talk to yourself based on how others talked to you, especially when you were young.
Right. Those formative years.
Exactly. So while that voice might feel incredibly loud, really insistent, its volume doesn't mean it's wise or accurate. It's more like a historical artifact, not your current reality.
Okay, so if it's this kind of internal recording, like you said, not our true operating system, our goal right now for this deep dive is to start recognizing it for what it is. Maybe even give it a name.
That can help, yeah, naming it.
And then crucially, start talking back to it. Now, here's something really fascinating, kind of paradoxical about this inner critic. Believe it or not, it was actually born with an intention to protect you,
Hmm.
which sounds totally counterintuitive when it feels so damaging, right?
It absolutely does. But think about it this way. Maybe your inner critic says, don't try that thing. Why? Why? Maybe. Because once, when you were, say, 9 years old, someone laughed at a dream you shared out loud.
Ouch.
And your system registered that pain, that humiliation. So the critic emerged, creating this barrier, trying to keep you safe from feeling that again. Or maybe it constantly whispers, you're not enough.
That's a common one.
Very common. And perhaps that's because at some point, someone important, maybe a parent, a teacher, made you feel invisible or unworthy. And the critic sort of concluded that if you just tried harder or were perfect, then you'd finally be seen or safe.
So its original intent, way back at the root, was actually trying to shield you from what it saw as threats or from repeating past hurts.
Exactly. That was the intention.
But the actual effect, that's where it goes wrong.
Right. It genuinely believes it's protecting you. That's its programming.
But it's really just keeping you small.
Precisely. Holding you back.
Yeah.
From growth, from new experiences, from just being fully you.
Okay, so if this misguided protection is actually keeping us small, holding us back, the obvious next question is, how do we break free? How do we change that pattern?
Precisely. And that's where we get practical. It starts by actively talking back to the critic.
That idea, talking back, it sounds simple on the surface, but I imagine it's actually incredibly difficult when you first try it. What's the biggest hurdle people usually face?
Oh, definitely the sheer habit of just believing it
Mm.
automatically, without question. I mean, think about it. We've potentially spent decades listening to that voice, giving it authority.
Right, it feels like the truth.
Exactly. So the very first step is just noticing it, becoming aware when it pops up. And once you can notice it, you can introduce this really powerful concept. We call it compassionate reparenting.
Compassionate reparenting.
Okay.
That sounds deep. And therapeutic. Can you unpack that for us a little? What does that mean in practice?
Sure. Imagine you're stepping into the role of the ideal nurturing parent for your younger self. The version of you who first heard those harsh words or felt that pain, that shame.
Right.
It's about offering the unconditional validation, the patience, the kindness that might have been missing back then. It's really about giving yourself what you most needed then, but giving it to yourself now as an adult.
So treating yourself with the same tenderness you'd show a kid going through something tough.
Exactly that. The
Yeah.
same understanding, the same gentle guidance.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So let's make this really concrete. Let's try some examples of talking back using this compassionate approach. So when that critic inside throws out a familiar jab like, you always fail,
Yeah.
how do we respond as our own compassionate parent?
Right. So first you acknowledge it, maybe silently, like, okay, I hear that familiar thought. I always fail. Don't fight it initially, just notice it. And then gently but firmly, you redirect. You bring in your compassionate voice, so your response could be something like, but my truth is, I'm actually in a learning process right now. Every misstep, that's just data. It helps me grow.
Okay.
Falling is part of learning to walk this new path.
Yeah.
See? It's about acceptance and growth, not judging yourself.
I like that. Shifting from judgment to observation almost.
Mm-hmm.
What about when it says something like, you're too sensitive? That one hits on for a lot of people.
Yeah, that's a big one. Your compassionate response there is strong validation. My feelings are valid. They matter.
Mhm.
And actually, they're part of what makes me human, my sensitivity. It's not a flaw, it's a strength. It helps me connect, empathize.
So you're reframing it,
Okay.
owning it as a strength.
Exactly. You're affirming your whole experience, not cutting off a part of yourself because the critic says you should.
Okay, one more. What if the critic tries to keep us stuck? You know, that feeling of it's too late for you to change or you missed your chance.
Ah, yes. The too late script. You counter that firmly. That's an old story, that's the critic talking, and it's simply not true. Every single moment is a new opportunity. To learn, to grow, to choose a different path. My journey isn't over, it's ongoing.
So you're directly challenging that limiting belief.
You have to. Gently, but firmly.
And this is where the real shift can happen, isn't it? When your inner voice starts to soften.
Mm-hmm.
When you consistently treat yourself with this kind of compassion, this truth, it feels like your outer world starts to feel safer too, less threatening.
It's a powerful ripple effect, absolutely. How you treat yourself inside changes how you experience everything outside.
So as you're listening to this,
Right.
maybe just take a moment for some personal reflection. Ask yourself right now,
Mm.
where did you first hear this voice? Can you trace it back maybe to a specific memory or a person,
Mm.
a time in your life?
Mm-hmm. And whose words are you still carrying around as if they were your own? Words that maybe never belonged to you in the first place, but you've kind of absorbed them over the years. Just acknowledging that can be incredibly freeing.
And here's a big one. This usually brings some clarity. Would you ever say these exact things?
Yeah.
The harsh criticisms to your child
Mm.
or your sibling, your best friend?
Yeah. Think about that.
And if the answer is just a clear, resounding no,
Which it usually is.
then why on earth would you say it to yourself? It really highlights that double standard, doesn't it?
It does. The standards we hold for ourselves versus the kindness we so easily give others. It's about recognizing your own inherent worth, deserving that same kindness.
So look, if your inner critic has been running the show for a while now, kind of acting like the undisputed boss of your brain, maybe it's time to reclaim the mic. This deep dive, maybe this is your nudge, your opportunity to consciously rewrite that internal script.
We really, really encourage you to consider changing how you talk to yourself, starting today. Even one small shift, it might feel unfamiliar at first, maybe even a bit strange or awkward, but the shift in your inner landscape can be truly profound.
Yeah. And if you know someone, maybe a friend or family member, who could really use a softer inner voice, someone you know struggles with their own relentless critic, maybe share this deep dive with them. Healing, transformation. It just happens faster, feels easier when we do it together, you know?
Speaking of doing things together, here's a little prompt. A family reflection idea you could try. Maybe tonight, over dinner or something. Ask each other, what's one mean thing you sometimes tell yourself that you would never say out loud to me?
Ooh, that's vulnerable, powerful.
It can be. And then maybe as a group, work together to rewrite those statements. Turn them into something kinder, something embodying that compassionate reparenting we talked about. It can be surprisingly connecting and really insightful.
I love that, bringing it out into the open. Okay, so on a slightly lighter note,
Yeah.
dealing with the critic with humor sometimes helps too, right?
Oh, definitely. Sometimes you just have to laugh at it.
Yeah. My inner critic, being the helpful sort it is, once told me I looked absolutely exhausted, just flat out,
Haha, charming.
right? And without even thinking, I just kind of looked in the mirror and said out loud, thanks for noticing. I actually worked really hard on this exhausted chic look. Glad it's kissing off.
Brilliant. That's perfect. Taking the power back with humor.
Exactly. Sometimes it's the best weapon against its seriousness. What about you? Any funny critic encounters?
Well, mine occasionally tells me to just act normal,
Yeah.
which, let's be honest, what does that even mean? It's such a loaded, vague command.
Totally subjective.
Right. So one week, just as an experiment, whenever that thought popped up, I started narrating my entire life in my head with a really dramatic British accent.
No way.
Yes. Like I was the star of my own very serious, very important film. Did it help me act normal? Absolutely not. But I felt incredibly classy while completely failing at it. So, I considered it a win. Sometimes just disrupting the pattern is enough.
That's fantastic. Okay, so as we start to wrap up this deep dive,
Yeah.
here's a thought for you listening. May you learn to pause, just pause, before automatically believing every harsh thought that pops into your mind.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And may your self-talk become more like a lush, thriving garden, a place you cultivate, you tend with gentleness, not a battlefield where you're constantly fighting yourself.
May your inner voice, bit by bit, truly become your truest friend. One kind word, one compassionate response, at a time. Remember, it's a journey, right? Not instant perfection. You're worthy of that kindness along the way.
And ultimately, may you finally truly hear the words you've always needed most. The validation, the acceptance, the love. May you hear them coming from the one voice that matters most in the end, your own.
Be kind to your mind. And until next time.
Speak gently to yourself.